What's going on, guys? The time has come. We are back once again for Tales from a place that's not Greenland, but is the Greenwich Colonies. Thanks so much for hanging out, watching on Twitch if you're with us. And as always, everyone who's not Levi who's here today, that's Josh, Ross, Jason, Tiki. Thank you guys so much for your support on Patreon and for running our Pathfinder playtest Gestalt game that I'm still hyped about. Literally sitting here watching backstories. Still super hyped about hanging out and doing stuff with. My disembodied voice is here, but it's only here because I'm recording. Today is our dwarf ranger rogue. It is Bren Treecutter's backstory, as I'm sure you know, because you can read. Remember, if you want to watch these in short form, we do upload them. Podbean is probably a place we'll land, I imagine, and anywhere else that is popular for podcasts. And we are on Twitch if you sit down for 3 hours and watching games. If you want to cut it piece by piece but still see that board. Black Dragon Gaming on YouTube for all your Pathfinder 1st, 2nd, and computer RPG needs. It's really hard because I'm not playing right now to not just have Kingmaker running in the background, but that would be terrible. And that's all I got. Mac, take it.
I mean, I totally wouldn't blame you if you had Kingmaker running in the background. Lord knows I would have to resist the urge to do that if we were playing this Sunday.
Permission granted! No, I'm kidding.
But yeah, so then, yes. Hello and welcome back to yet another episode of the Greenwich Colonies, Tales, Trials, Tribulations, Tragedies, Despair, however you want to call it. You know, it's not entirely set in stone yet, right? Yeah, right. Because I'm the GM, I gotta say this sort of stuff. Just gotta give Tommy a bit of crap so that way he can remember not to make too many jokes about Tarask sticking his foot in his mouth. But that is not why we are here today. Not to passive aggressively. Don't worry. But sorry for the little tangent there. But welcome back.
You're fine. The disembodied voice is glaring in Hangouts to mess up his GM.
A little bit of fun.
It's all in fun. If you weren't abusing me mentally and physically, well, not physically, you're in the Carolinas, you're in the Appalachians, you're literally a Squidbilly, we wouldn't be friends. That's what I've learned from being friends with people like Kane Smale. Now Kane is mad at me. Oh well, oops.
Whoops. Oh well, not my fault, so I don't need to worry about it. But yes, so, Jay, hello, welcome. Glad to have you here with us.
Glad to be here.
I was wondering, could you perhaps give a little bit of a background and description for your character before we get started?
Okay, my character is a dwarf by the name of Bren Treecutter. Grew up, small village, lots of lumber industry around, and grew up in the woods. Was trained with the local militia, mainly and given his skill set, was trained as a scout and a guide. He also acted as a guide for some merchant parties, going through wooded areas. He's primarily just really into the outdoors and is not the fondest of people, especially other dwarves of his area who seem to get drunk all the time. He's not opposed to alcohol, but he just really gets annoyed by loud drunks.
And then added in that there's this new fighting style that's supposed to be better when you're drunk, and it's just like, oh.
Yes, those are the people I love to talk to the next morning. A little bit louder than I normally do.
Evil.
So,
Well then.
Not technically. But yeah.
Okay, you're not evil,
a couple of weeks,
but you are totally the face of every bad neighbor ever.
It depends on your viewpoint. Yes, to use the phrase, it all depends on your perspective.
Fair enough.
But a couple months ago, Bren's father and mother were killed in a logging accident. So, when you split the lands that you own between 14 siblings, there's only so much left. So the wandering bug hit him. So he's going to go maybe, he's not sure yet. But he knows he has the skills to survive in the world out there, so might as well start or some other form of work.
Makes sense. Well, with that in mind, where we begin today is a simple enough adventure for you. You are actually returning back to your homestead for the first time in quite some while to see some of your siblings after an adventure. They managed to get a message to you out a few months ago on a mountain pass as there was some news about a birth going on. One of your sisters was about to give birth to her child, and they wanted you to be there and all that sort of stuff. Family event. While you yourself, can have your own personal feelings or emotions, you would at least feel it to be rude to not be there for your sister's, first child's birth. You can decide whether or not you want to be there, but at the very least, it does feel like your mother and father would definitely this would not be something that you would want to miss. And so you're kind of just walking back sort of I don't want to say haphazardly because you are a ranger, you know the woods, but at the same time, if you've ever let your guard down, this is probably a place where you've let it down a tiny bit because you know these lands. You know this terrain, you know the creatures that live here, which is why as you're stepping into the woods and just starting to walk down a familiar stream, you kind of stop as something in the back of your mind is screaming that something's not right. Would you make me a perception check? Oh, that's a natural one. You start to turn around and just kind of go, what is that? Only to feel the ground out from underneath you slip and give way, and you fall back into the stream. You kind of getting up annoyed. Perhaps nature's version of saying, welcome back. Only as you get up, you kind of sniff the air again. Kind of after coughing up some water and whatnot that got into your mouth, you kind of just sniff the air yet again, and then you realize what it is that you don't hear. The stream you're in, it's mostly mud. It's never mostly mud. It's usually mostly water. Like we're talking like this is like a proper feed into a river. This is like something up above the water has jammed it or something at its source, which already has gotten you into, oh God, what do they do now? Sort of mode as you just push yourself up and start moving with a bit more haste towards your family's homestead. As you arrive, you see, your various brothers and sisters and brother-in-laws and sister-in-laws as they're all just kind of like standing around discussing with one another.
I will get to, I was always a sneaky child. I don't like yelling when I don't have to, so I'll walk up to them before saying anything.
Would you roll me a stealth check if you're gonna actively? Would you just give me a stealth? Oh yeah. You walk up towards them with little trouble, and as you approach, you hear whispers or murmurs amongst one another. Are you certain that man knows what he's doing? Yes, he is a druid. He certainly would know how to handle a matter of this nature. I don't trust him. Did you see what he did to the spring? He said it was necessary in order to get the proper water out.
And what is he doing now?
The ones closest to you kind of startled backwards as they all just turned to face you.
I saw the stream. What's going on? And by the way, congratulations.
Thank you, but she... So, around last night, we had a visitor. A peculiar man, a human male, seemingly a druid. He came to us a few days ago, a while back. He was looking for a place to reside for the night, and I could tell by the cloth and the way he held himself, he looked to be a druid. Similar, the no metal, the holy symbols, mentioned even something of a green faith. He seemed to be a good, honest fellow, and I saw no reason to deny him when he asked if he could just simply sleep in the barn. I mean, you know, he points around to the rest of the family, we can defend ourselves if the matter arises. We are trained, of course, as mother and father would want us to be, but he did not threaten me or seem upset. He just seemed as though he was looking for a place to stop. Well, the night he arrived, your sister, she went into labor, but she had complications. Something went wrong, and God, she started bleeding out, and that's when the man came inside, rather unannounced, and managed to stop the wounds. He managed to stop her bleeding, and he's still in there now helping her. Apparently, something's gone wrong with the birth, and he's trying to help her get out, and he needed something about fresh water from the source of the spring, and that's why the spring's like it is, but I don't know what's caused it to shrivel up as much as it has. All I know is that he is inside now, tending to her.
Are the healer's tools still where we kept them in the hut?
Of course. I was hoping that you would come and help us with this matter. You know far more than I do about this. Here, he kind of leads you over to the hut, opening the door.
I'll ditch my pack, but not my weapons, and go in.
No,
Well,
none of
the bow.
your siblings, be it in-law or whatnot, are walking around without weapons. All of them have a weapon on them.
Yes.
You guys do live in the wilderness. It's common fare to have weapons on you at all times. As you step into the room, you see your sister just lying there, sleeping peacefully, but you see no man.
Okay. Do I... Okay. Dark vision, there's nobody in here. Not
Nope.
sensing.
Nope, she just seems to be lying there sleeping peacefully. Your brother-in-law kind of steps in behind and goes, "What the devil?" Would you make me a perception check? With an 8, there is one thing you notice right away.
Okay.
Your sister's arms are flat on her chest.
Okay.
It seems like she's
and
kind of like
there's-
hugging herself,
Okay.
kind of hugging herself in her sleep.
Okay. I'll go quick check on her, see how she's doing. So would that
She
be
seems to
medicine?
be. Yeah, go ahead and roll a medicine. Like first glance, she seems to be fine. 12, yeah, you don't see any issues. You don't see any bleeding. You don't see anything of that nature. She seems to be just fine.
Okay. Brother, this is strange. I'm not sure what's going on.
As you say this, you kind of glance over at him, and you notice your brother's just standing there. Your brother-in-law's just standing there, wide-eyed, his face white.
What's he looking at?
He's looking like directly at his wife. You kind of take a glance back, look confused, glance back over to him, look back at your wife, and then it hits you. Where's the child?
Oh my. That will not stand. I'll get up, turn to my brother-in-law, grab him by the shoulders and shake slightly. Look at me.
He looks at you.
When did you see them last?
I never even got to saw them. The man, he was going to help her get them out just an hour ago, just before you arrived. She only just now stopped crying. It just as you arrived, the sounds of labor ended.
stay with her.
He nods his head, kind of like draws his weapon, very clearly like on guard.
Yeah. I'll step outside,
Mm-hmm.
grab my bow, whistle. To me.
I presume you're calling for your siblings?
Yes.
Yep, they all come running over. What's the matter? One of the younger brothers says.
Whoever that was, has taken the child. I'll try to track him, if I can.
They all just kind of look at one another shocked. And then, like, one of them says, "Do you need me to come with you?" You know, one of the males, a few of the males kind of like step forward, like, "We know you're the better tracker, but in case you find him, do you need our help, like, in apprehending him?"
If you were to rank order them as fighters, I'll take the second, third, and fourth best.
All right, that would be your second
Yeah.
sister, your fourth brother, and your seventh brother. And the best fighter, other than you, is currently the one that is now laying on the bed sleeping. She took after your mother the most.
Of course. Because I want to leave a strong enough force there to protect the homestead. But
They all gather around, start grabbing weapons. The three that are coming with you, one seems to grab one grabs a crossbow, the other one a war axe, and the last one yet another crossbow and a war axe.
here's the plan. We seek to track, and if we find him, if he's alive, he can talk. If not, it's the will of the gods.
They all nod.
Let's see if we can find a trail.
Would you roll me a survival check? 16. It takes you only a few seconds for you to pick up the track. You just kind of glance around. You were afraid for a second there. With all the people just shuffling around, you would lose it, but you noticed it off in the woods behind you. The fellow moved fast, faster than you would have expected out of a normal human, and your stomach just starts to go, yep, the natural entity here, and you just book it in that direction.
I'm going as fast as I can, maintaining the track.
That's basically full speed. You're a ranger. You can move at full speed and keep that track.
Yeah.
And you do so. You run quickly, rapidly through the trees. You know the siblings behind you. Occasionally, you lose sight of them, but they're always just a bit behind you. And as you kind of just run around a bit, you kind of come to a clearing, and you recognize this is a clearing where the spring is. And as you kind of just stop and like catch your breath as you lose the track for just a second, you look over to the source of the spring, and you found out what's been blocking it up.
Okay. What?
One of your siblings' cattle has been brutally mauled and left over the part where the spring bubbles up, serving as a wall of flesh, serving as a dam. You just kind of go silent at the view of this. This looks awful. This looks atrocious. And then you hear a very faintly, but that's all you need for you to start booking it again.
Find him. At this point, I'll drop the bow, and I'm pick and hammer.
All right.
I am not playing around if I find this guy.
All right. You rush around, and as you finally come across the cries, you see a man standing up against a large oak tree. Well, standing up against it isn't the exact word, as it does seem as though he's actually on a branch above the ground of the tree, just holding the child, just like, shh, 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 shh. Oh, look. You're pretty fast, little one. Look, little one. One of your uncles came to find you.
That is my nephew.
Niece, actually, and she has your sister's eyes, he says, just like holding up the child to his face a bit. It cries a bit louder and goes, "Oh, shush, 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 shush. Precious little things, aren't they?"
Unbelievably so. Why don't you come down here and we can talk about it?
I'd prefer not to eat metal. It's not healthy for my diet. And I know how you dwarfs are.
Then you know your wisest course of action would be to give me my niece now.
He looks to the child. All right. And you just hear the baby start to cry up again, only as a snap. And he tosses it down to you. And as you look on the ground in front of him, the child just rolls towards you, neck cracked. As he just as the figure just takes his fingers up to his mouth and. So tasty. Forgive me, I needed a good snack and I haven't been involved in raising my own food in forever.
Incoming hammer.
He dodges it effortlessly as you just chuck it at him. He's now on the ground, though, as he just kind of slides backwards. He's roughly like 15 feet away from you. You can make it an attack to him if you want to.
Yes.
All right. Go ahead and roll me that attack. Sadly not. You bring it down, but he just, once again, sidestep you. Oh, come now. Don't rush so much. Don't be so difficult. You'll get all tough and stinky, and then you won't taste as well. You can attack again if you want.
I'll grab Hatchet for my offhand.
All right. He's still within melee range. He hasn't walked. He hasn't done anything. Basically, in this kind of impromptu combat, all he's done with his actions was talk to you.
Why would you do this?
Oh, friends, don't worry. I can tell by the look in your eyes and the way you fight. You're not like your siblings. You don't live in their tiny little cookie cutter houses. You don't go around making a mockery of the woods, he says, kind of just like gesturing around him. You respect nature. You wish for it to grow. I am the same way, and so are some of my friends. And when a species becomes too damaging to a environment, too invasive, it's the job of the game warden to eradicate them. Take this as a warning. I don't care if you think of this as your family home. You are to leave if you wish for your siblings to stay alive. And with that, he just backs away. You watch as he turns into a giant black bird, what you assume to be perhaps the rocks of legend. Just flutters back from you and says, "Otherwise, it will not be a beak but a trio of claws that come to find you." And with that, the bird just pushes up into the air, and as you're just kind of left staring, you hear your siblings come up behind you, and you hear the shocked gasps and the cry out of one of them as they see the child. That event occurred roughly 3 months ago. Ever since then, you've devoted your time to figuring out who these people are. Your family took the warning, thankfully, and left, seeking solitude in the Undermountain. And for the most part, it seems as though the threats against their lives was understood. You know this because, as mentioned, All your siblings one morning woke up to find 3 claw marks in their doors. A trio of claws. With that, it kind of pans over as you stare at him, as you kind of just like glance over. You see another dwarf similar to you, yet different, running up to a merchant ship, or talking about some sort of passage to Greenwich. And you just kind of sigh. For you know one thing. The trio of claws and his members of his circle call Greenwich Isles their home. And if that is where their home is, that is where their lair is, and that is where you will slay them.
As,
And with that, that's the end
as
of your
quickly
backstory.
as I must, as slowly as I can.
And with that, that is the end of your backstory and why you are in Greenwich.
And you are the first person to have killed a baby on this YouTube channel, Ross. Well done. You beat me to it. That was good. We were just talking last week about how the only tragedy is a spilled beer. No, there are others. There are other sad things sometimes. Oh. And the kid, but also beer.
Well, no. He said that he saw a dwarf running onto a ship.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fought a bear!
Yeah.
And that's how they meet.
And another thing that will probably make the other dwarf real happy is Bren keeps his beard closely trimmed.
I figure.
It's too much. It's too much to mess with when you're in the woods.
Yeah,
So just trim it, keep it neat, and go.
looking at that token as a dwarf ranger, like he definitely just straight up looks like dwarf Aragorn as I'm looking at this here. But anywho, that's all we have for today. Thanks for hanging out, guys, and be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. The next episode of Tales from the Greenwich Colony, where we murder baby killers, drops next Sunday. Say bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.